Welcome back, everyone, to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we bring you the practice, the pedagogy, and the politics currently happening in public education. As always, I ask that you write your name in the comments and let me know your observations, your questions, and just participate with us. One of the things I'm trying to help our audience with is to become a more active audience. The days of silent radio are gone. We are now into active participation podcasts. And so the teacher in me is asking the students and you to let me know what you're thinking as we go through the topic. And if there are any questions, put them in there and we will be happy to answer them. I'm a longtime teacher, so you know that even if you listen later, you can write your questions and I will get back to you, just like asynchronous learning these days, where the teacher might not be in front of the student all day, but if the student comes online and interacts with the platform and hands in work and has questions for the teacher will respond, even if it's not right away. So that's where I am in today's world. So let's get started. We have with us today one of our favorite go-to families, and that is the Cordova family. Thank you for being on. Just introduce yourself, give yourself a little bit of a background of who you are and what grade you're in, for example.
I'm Joaquin Cordova. I am a 9th grader. I've been going to this school practically all my life, and I have to say it's great here.
Okay, thank you for that. It is a public school that you're going to. And who did you bring with you?
My mom.
Hi, I'm Beatrice Cordova, and I have 2 boys that are both in school. And right now they are, funny you say they're doing the asynchronous right now. So they're doing, their school offers online learning. So that's what we've chosen to do this year. And so that's what we are right now. I'm teacher, a peer in class at home, and director of school, everything.
Luckily, you're a mom with teacher instincts, right? So
yes, I'm a preschool teacher. So my normal age group, though, is 18 months to 5 years old. So after 5, I usually hand them off and say, okay, now the pros can handle it. So me having to do kinder and 8th/9th grade are a bit challenging this year, but we're getting it done.
Well, and I hope that you're tapping into some of the resources the school has available,
yes,
because
we
don't want parents to suffer like that and not be able to find resources. So Joaquin, before we get started on our topic, how is school going? I mean, this is now, 9 months into online virtual learning, because you started in March of last year with everybody else. Then you went through the semester. Did you do summer school?
No, I didn't do summer school.
Okay, but then you did, starting in August, you started back. What's that been like, being home instead of at school?
Well, it doesn't have the usual distractions like other disruptive students or teachers being late to the classroom.
Okay.
But it has the same difficulties as a regular classroom, like the participation of everybody, things like that.
What about meeting your special needs as far as being GT?
It's been meeting my needs. It's been giving me challenging work and assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like all the criteria of the normal classroom are being fulfilled.
So I'm not saying I'm not trying to predict the future, but I'm just asking, Joaquin, if you had to live like this the rest of your high school career, how would you feel about that?
I feel like the social aspect of schooling would be hindered because you don't really have that interaction with your peers and teacher. It's just, okay, you see their profile picture every morning, and it's not really face-to-face.
So although you're doing, okay, you're making lemonade out of instructional lemons, right? Mm-hmm. You really wouldn't prefer to have that be for the rest of your high school career, is that right?
I prefer to be in person with my teacher instead of just sitting there in front of a laptop all day.
And Mom, what about you? If you had it understood that you had to keep your kids, and you have a kindergartner, so it's not just a ninth grader, but a kindergartner also for the next 4 years or 3.5 years until Joaquin finished his high school career, what would you think about that?
For me, I feel like it's hard for the kids. They miss the interaction with their classmates. We do recess here at home, but I have to take him outside, or Daddy has to take him outside, or him and brother go outside and they play. So my younger one doesn't have the age group that he should be playing with, where my older one doesn't either. So I feel that they need that. And I kind of piggyback off of Joaquin's statement that he does miss the interaction and the communication that he has with his teacher, the actual like really getting to know that teacher and the teacher really getting to know him and finding out what his abilities are or his quirks. Because right now I'm emailing the teacher, or he is, and we're asking for, extra work, or could you, kind of make it a little bit more harder on this subject, or what do you suggest we do for this to kind of push him a little bit. But, and I see some of the teachers are kind of like, well, just let him do what he can do right now and we'll see how it goes. Whereas I think if he was there and he actually was face to face with that teacher would know, or that teacher would be coming to us saying, he needs a little bit more push here, he needs a little bit more push there. So I think that that's missing, that connection. And I think that's what we're kind of all missing, is the connection with the teachers and the staff.
So that isn't the subject that we are here to talk about today, but I did not want to lose an opportunity for our listeners, who many of them don't have kids necessarily in school right now. Maybe they're grandparents, maybe they are teachers without kids, but they need to know what families are feeling and how it's playing out in the home. And we can't hear that enough. So thank you for letting me sort of start the morning with that. Now let's talk about this special time of year. This is, just during a regular school year, this would be a special time of year, right? But yeah. This is COVID plus, then we're approaching the holidays. And so I wanted to have this show now about what to do as far as how to make our families appreciate the holidays, approach it from a financial literacy with our kids. I've been talking financial literacy, as you know, off and on, because I know you're good about listening to our podcast. And so what does your family do this time of year to, one, sort of be financially fiscal and include your kids in that? And two, how do you retain the meaning of the season, especially this time in the COVID period? So let's tackle the financial literacy piece, as far as how are you training your kids to be financially smart during the holidays?
Financially, we sit down and we kind of come up with a budget and say, okay, this is how much we're going to spend for Christmas. And that's my husband and I. We sit and we say, okay, how much are we doing per child? Then I've got two sisters myself. My husband has two siblings, and they have children. So to then spread it out to my nieces and nephews, how much are we going to spend on them? And so we try to stay within that budget. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if you don't go beyond your means. I know it's hard, because I know me as a parent, I see 900 million things that I want to buy my kids that I'm like, oh, they have to have this, but we try to stay within our means. We tell all the kids, with COVID this year, we were like, hey, make an Amazon gift list, a wish list. And we emailed it out to everyone and said, these are the things that they wish for. So we kind of do that. Then we also sit with the boys, and I have two boys, so they decide what gift they want to get for each other. And what we do is, Joaquin usually cuts the grass, and so he usually pays off that debt for whatever toy he wants to get his little brother. He will cut the grass, or he'll do an extra chore out of the ordinary. Where the little one has to do extra stuff too, where it might be helping put up the dishes or cleaning something extra. So that kind of helps with a lot of the financial burden. We ask for gift cards for the boys. That way later on they can, later on use those when they want to. But we just kind of we're not secretive about it. We keep it open to them and knowing this is how much we're going to spend on you, and we keep it even. Joaquin's gifts, of course, are more expensive because he's older. And so just, if we say we're spending $50 on him and one game is $50, that's all you get. Versus the little one, if we say, okay, $50 is your limit and he wants 10 things from the dollar store, then he gets more gifts because they're smaller, less priced. But we try to make it very even on both of them, and then they get one big gift together that we as a family can play. So it's been, last year was the Wii U game system, so we got that. And then for Christmases and birthdays, we told everyone we got a Wii U. Can you get us, get us games for that, or membership or whatever?
And of which we ended up getting a Nintendo Switch also.
Well, some things work in here, in the benefits. So, but like this year, the boys, when they've been home, they made their own kind of table tennis game. And so we thought, well, it'd be fun to buy them an actual like ping pong table. That would be our family gift. So we try to do one big gift for the family, for the entire family, and then just smaller gifts for everyone else. But we keep a limit. It's $1 limit for everybody.
Well, Joaquin, how do you feel about this? Do you feel included? I mean, is this method pretty transparent for you as a ninth grader?
I feel very included because it shows how much thought and effort you need to put into a gift for someone else. Like, I have to think, okay, my brother has wanted this, but he really seems to like this more. So it teaches him and me to put thought into, okay, this is Christmas, it's the holiday for giving, and we need to give something that they actually want.
How do you make sure that the gifts last? I know, so many times, especially for the little ones, they are impulsive in their want, right? And so then Christmas is over, and this may be more for mom, but you may be able to answer watching your little brother. How do we make the gift last beyond opening it up from the package?
Well, we have a rule, and we do it for their birthday too. And we started it when Joaquin was little, because of course the kids get 900 million toys. And so what we do is we open up the boxes of the gifts, and then the actual toy itself, we will say, okay, you get to open one toy. So pick one toy that you want to open, and then the rest go in their closet. And so in 2-3 weeks, when they say, oh, I want a toy or whatever, we pull those boxes down and say, okay, which one would you like to open now? So it's almost every couple of weeks they open up another toy. It used to be, I think for Joaquin, he was pretty good at like
month or two.
Once a month that he would want to open a new toy. So it kind of saves us on the going to the store and saying, oh, can you buy me that? Can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? Because we were always tell him, we're going to go home and you can open a toy. So with Joaquin, it lasted a little bit longer because he was a September baby and Christmas was in December. So it kind of like seemed like he had a lot more toys in the closet to open, where Jonah is a December baby and he's right next to Christmas. So his toys kind of don't last as long, but Big Brother's been really gracious and handed down a lot of toys. So that's been the good thing. And that's another thing we do with our family. When our boys are done with the toys, we pass them on to whoever wants it next. So it's a new to them toy.
You mean like cousins or somebody like that? So let's talk a little bit about how do you bring meaning to the season? How do you keep the season from being about the toys or about what I'm going to get?
We do a couple of things. Throughout the entire year, the boys clean out their closet. We've got baskets throughout the house where they throw in socks that don't fit, clothes that doesn't fit, and they know that we drop them off at a foster closet that a friend of mine runs. And so they take anything that's, gently new, used, whatever. We also, especially around the Christmas time, we get angels off the angel tree, and we try to make it as close to their age as we can. With COVID, it's been a little bit different this year, but normally we would have the boys go and pick off 2 angels, and they would get to pick. And so they would see what child was their age, and either the same sex or an opposite sex. Since we don't have any girls, we would always say, well, do we want to pick a girl this year, or do we want to pick a boy this year? And then normally the boys would help us pick the gifts. This year it's been a little bit different. I went and got the angels, and I just, found some gifts, but we would go over the list and see what we wanted. And they circle the Walmart ads, or, a couple years ago, the Toys R Us ads, the Sam's ad, they circle those items that they want to buy for that person. And so then we drop those off. So we continually tell them that they are very blessed. They're very lucky to have what they have. We do normally go to church, so they know that at our church we have, they have a bag that you get, and it has a list where day by day you buy these items. So it's kind of an advent calendar for the needy. So like day 1 is a box of cereal, day 2 is a jar of peanut butter, and you just kind of go down this list. And so normally we would grab a bag or 2 as a family and fill those up, or just canned goods. Our school did a canned good drive, and we put the word out to us family members, and got a whole bunch of canned foods and dropped them off at the school. But we try to encourage a lot of giving to the community, giving to the needy, the homeless. Joaquin was part of a Boy Scout troop and a Cub Scout troop that would sing carols at the
nursing home, and occasionally donate used or gently used toys.
And then they would write Christmas cards. So we try to do stuff like that when they were both, well, when Joaquin was little, and then when Jonah was younger. Instead of giving an actual gift, they would draw a picture or do a coloring page for one or the other. And so that was really, something sentimental to both of them to do. So we just try to make it a normal, everyday kind of way of life. If we kind of do, we try.
So is there a possibility of still being able to make cards for senior citizens at assisted livings? I would hope that that's still.
In some you can, some instances you can't, because of, them not being sanitized. And with us, with them drawing, it's not as secure if it's, not, if they don't know if it's sanitized correctly or not. So we aren't able to do that this year. Normally we do a lot of baked goods and drop them off at their school. Usually the teachers know every other week there's some sort of
treat involved for them.
So whenever they would see Joaquin, they would say, is this did y'all bake this weekend?
Is it brownie week? Is it cookie week?
That's cute.
And we haven't been able to do that this year. So this year we had to resort to canned foods and just going through our closets, seeing what we don't need, what we don't have, what we don't use, and just kind of reverting to that.
So you have chosen to be home, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean this in the most curious of ways.
Uh-huh.
What is it going to take to get you guys to come back to a face-to-face setting?
I think for me, more peace of mind. We have my mom who comes every other weekend and stays with us. And then we have my mother-in-law that we see almost every other weekend also. And they're both very high risk. And they're the only grandparents that they have. So we didn't spend Thanksgiving together because both of my brother-in-laws had COVID. And so both of their families, my sisters, both of their families ended up with COVID. And so we kind of did our own thing, everyone. And it was really, really hard. And so for me, it kind of brought that to like home. It really freaked us out and really brought it home to us, where we just thought, okay, we just need to make our bubble a little bit smaller.
It was very demeaning on the happy atmosphere that we were all okay in our little home, our safety bubble, and it just enclosed us in it. We were like, no more visits, no more people over. Y'all can forget Thanksgiving. We'll just send y'all the scraps.
So you're right about that, because I remember, I just said this, I think yesterday to somebody, I think it was the end of May or maybe even June, where I still didn't know anybody who really had it, right? And so it had been months, and it was like, is this real? I mean, in the back of, and I've talked to other people who thought exactly the same thing, right? Because nobody knew somebody.
Right.
And then towards late summer, it started. And my dad got it. Unfortunately, my dad passed away. We don't think he passed away from COVID, but it didn't help his lung cancer. I think it probably helped ease him out. My brother and his wife and my nephew had it in October. So now it's hitting close to home, right? Now I know people close to me.
Right.
And so I get it. And in some ways, my husband and myself, although I don't include myself as much in that sort of older category, I am a grandparent. And so we have to be a little bit more cautious, right? Around, and I'll give you a perfect example of how that's playing out. We had a very small group at Thanksgiving. We had 11, which sounds like a lot, but we could have had what we were wanting to have at Christmas, which was 26.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to thinking about it, it sounded great on paper. It sounded great when we were listing the kids and we were drawing names for the kids. But, we do have some, my husband survived cancer twice. We have his brother who is got some things. And so we just couldn't justify, especially hearing of all these big groups that have gotten together for Thanksgiving, and then what happened? They got COVID, right?
Right.
So now we're having the portal sort of holiday gift giving. So, we're getting into our bubbles, plugging in, and we are going to get online within our bubbles. We'll have 4 or 5 different bubbles that will go online, and we'll have the different small kids open their gifts from each other. We're hoping to do something innovative as far as food, maybe all pick it up from the same place so that we have something to talk about the food and, all that. But we are really having to be cautious so that we don't become one of those stories in the news where, 26 family members got together and 20 out of 26 ended up getting it.
Yeah, so that's
nobody wants it.
We have about 30 people here for Thanksgiving, and of course we missed it so much because that's my cousins come and my sisters and their families, and then all the boys go outside and they play soccer, and then they come inside, and then
we usually play a game or two.
And then my uncle is a huge train buff, and so he'll get the kids to. He'll say, can I put the train out? And I'm like, yes, if you put my tree up. And so
we all work together.
So I usually get my Christmas tree and the train and everything put up, the Thanksgiving Day. So this year it was very hard, but we did, send pictures of what everybody ate and the variety of what everybody ate for Thanksgiving. And it was just us 4. But I think a few days before, we were still kind of trying to decide if we wanted to do Thanksgiving as a group. And then before we had heard that my brother-in-law had caught it, I'd seen in the news a family of 15 and all 15 caught it. And I thought, oh my goodness. And so I kind of freaked me out a little bit. And then after that, I thought, okay, well, maybe we should say we're not going to do this. And then we got the call that one had COVID, and then it was just like a rippling effect after that. Okay, well, the other family has it now, and it went through so many, half of the family got it in one household and half in the other. And so we just kind of, we're kind of like, thank God he gave us a sign, like, you're not having COVID, you're not going to have Thanksgiving together because of COVID, and so I think, it makes us, that family bond stronger. I know for us 4, we're not arguing as much. There's not been as much back talk from the kids, you know, from the teenager or from the wannabe teenager. The 5-year-old.
5-year-old wannabe, right?
Yes, I think he's worse than the actual teenager, and we have to remind him, you're 5. But I think we don't have as much, as far as us, we don't have as much backlash because there's nowhere else to go. You know, if you want a break from me, go to your room. If you want a break from dad, go outside. So we kind of, I'll catch it every once in a while where we're all in our own rooms doing something different, not technology-wise.
Me and my brother go work on Legos together. My mother sits down, binges a show to cool off, and my father just just looking for a little bit of hope in his office.
I think you guys are living the 50s life, aren't you?
Like, it kind of looks like that. My husband and I last night or a couple nights ago, we were going through some of the channels because we've gotten rid of cable and now we're on just rabbit ears or streaming, and ran into Leave It to Beaver, and I thought, oh my God, that's my life right now. I am cooking, I'm cleaning,
exactly what I'm thinking. Yes.
You know, I wake up in the morning and do my hair because I think, oh, I've got to do my hair and make myself look nice and feel good, and I'm dressed and I'm doing laundry and stuff, and I'm thinking, and they wake up and they're like, Mom, where are you going? I'm like, nowhere, just doing laundry today. But we are Leave It to Beaver.
Well, and again, this one's one for the books. I hope that somehow you're documenting this, that you're keeping track in some kind of journal, Joaquin, because this one is as strange a year as you will probably ever have. Yeah. And so I hope that you are somehow annotating it in a way that will help you tell your kids when you have that time 15 years down the road, about the COVID time period and how it changed things, since it did change things. Yeah.
Well, I was beginning to start a log, but then I realized it would be better if I kept a little update on how my situation went, like before COVID happened, during COVID happened, and of course when we finally get over this pandemic, like what the outcome was in the house.
Well, there have been plenty of outcomes just even through this. Can you think of some ways that school has changed, Joaquin? Think about it. Since March, how has school changed in a way that you think maybe it may never change back?
Well, for one, the teachers and students have sort of gotten more comfortable towards each other. Just in the sense of, okay, you're in your home, you're comfortable, you're going to be talking like how you usually do at home. And I'm the teacher, I'm at home, I feel comfortable. And everybody is, while scared of the pandemic, is also in a better mood because they're in that comfortable mindset.
Huh, that's interesting. And you've said interesting things like that before on previous podcasts, that you have shared some interesting insights into the virtual life, really, the virtual environment. And you're right, when teachers are at home, they probably are a little bit more casual. Now, let me ask you this. Teachers have been coming back to school. Have you noticed any difference this week, for example? Because some of your teachers are at school, right?
Yes, I've noticed some of them are a little, I would say paranoid is the best thing to describe it, as they're scared of getting sick. They're scared, like, oh no, I have to go in school with all of these germy kids and teach them a lesson or two. And I can hear it through their voice, through their tone. Because at home, they're like, hi, everybody. How are you doing? How's your day? Whereas the teachers who are at school doing the call, hello, time for today's lesson. I mean, you can tell they have some stress on it.
That's interesting, Joaquin. I don't think that all kids have the kind of insight that you have. So anything you can do to help calm our teachers down, we'd appreciate that. You know, they are feeling stressed. I was in one of our schools yesterday, and I witnessed a first grade teacher, and you know, she had several kids in her classroom face to face, and then she had the rest of the class on the computer, and she's interacting with them. She's carrying the computer around as if she were carrying all of the students, right? As if they were all babies in her arms, and she's interacting with them through the screen while she's interacting with the ones face to face. It's fascinating to watch, but not everybody has conquered that as easily as she has, and as a few others have. So, so yeah, make sure that your classmates treat your teachers with respect and care, because they need it right now. So thank you for that. All right, well, you know, as always, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the time that you take to pop in and let us know how it's going, and give us a sort of in the field, in the family field aspect of this virtual world. And on top of that, what you guys do to really keep the joy of the season while staying financially fiscal and safe. So you've done all that, and I will let you go, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joaquin. All right, so we were talking about financial literacy, and the article that sort of got me thinking about having a family come and talk to us about that is one that's called Teaching Kids Money Smarts During the Holidays. And I did that for today because school will be out next week, after next week. And that's when really parents have time to think about how do I get my kids to think about buying gifts for siblings, buying gifts for maybe a favorite classmate or best friend. And so those conversations will be coming. And so let me arm you not only with some of the good conversations that were happening with the Cordova family, but also some information from people who really write about this for a living. So let's see where we go on this. This is Dr. Michelle Borba, and she says, parenting tips to teach kids financial literacy and to be smart spenders and consumers during the holidays. Well, folks, it appears that the official holiday mania is upon us, and it is. You know that. You've seen ads everywhere, whether you look at one thing on the internet and you'll get ads for that every hour, every day until, I don't know, I don't think it ever stops, does it? We have Black Friday sales that are hitting us. The advertising blitz are everywhere, right? And they're not only hitting you, adults, they're hitting your kids as well. Any device they have, the commercials they're watching on TV, it's all about spending money on a particular thing, item, food product, and so forth. So one of the things, though, to start thinking about, and the reason why we need to start talking to kids about this is, it's a perfect time to talk to kids about money management, because study results are in. Teens flunk financial literacy survey. Approximately 1,500 high school seniors were recently asked basic facts about their personal finance, and the great majority were stumped for answers. The results were not promising for our children's future. Now, these were seniors, right? So seniors are about to go to college and should have known maybe a little bit more than what they were showing. The reality check is that 95% of teens surveyed scored a C or below in financial literacy. A C or below. And wonder why? Here's another survey finds a key reason for the teens' low financial scores. Reality check, 80% of all college freshmen admit to never having had a conversation with their parents about managing their money. What's more, almost 1 in 4 of these same teens say that it's just fine to blow as much as $500 without checking in with mom and dad. Now, let me say, these are not proud findings, folks. Parents, let me give you a story, and this is, I am a lot older than most of you. And when I went off to college in 1975, as a 17-year-old, all by myself, living by myself, my father, who was a banker, he was a banker, did that for a living. But folks, when I went down to Austin, Texas, to live by myself in an apartment at the freshman year, I did not know anything about cashing checks or keeping a checkbook. They gave him a check, and I went to the first bank I saw near my apartment. And I went to go cash that check, and they asked me if I had a checking account with them, and I said, what? No, I just got here in Austin. But I have $100 and I need to eat. And they said, well, you need a check. You need an account here before you can cash a check here. First reality check for me. Now again, 1975, 45 years ago, folks. And my parents drove me to Austin, put me in an apartment all by myself, gave me a check for $100, which was a lot of money back then, and didn't let me know how to cash it. They didn't mean that. They were sincere in wanting to have what's best for me. They left me money. They just didn't leave me with the key to understand how to cash that money, how to get to it. And so I had to learn it while doing it. I had to open an account. I had to put my money in. I had to wait a day or two. Back then, you put money in, you had to wait for the check to clear before. And in those days, we didn't have the digital world we have now. So things took 48 hours or more to clear. And so I don't remember if I went hungry. I doubt I did, because I don't think I ever had a time when I truly went hungry. But I had to wait for my monthly allowance so that I could purchase food and so forth for the month. And so I'm seeing here, 45 years later, that things haven't changed too much. And that's just not on parents, folks, because your parents didn't train you and you're not training your kids. But the schools haven't picked up much either. Now in Texas, there are financial literacy expectations, but that's not enough. It probably should be every single classroom starting in kinder or pre-K even, right? So that they understand the value of money and then interest on money and debt. And although really debit cards more than checks anymore, I think I go through a checkbook in a year, maybe, if that. Can't even think. I don't do it very often. So if you're concerned, now that I've said this, if you're concerned about your kids' spending habits or their lack thereof of how to spend well or effectively or efficiently, then let's start Money Talk now. And there's no better time than right now. There's no better time than the holiday time when we're all supposed to be buying things with money we don't have, right? We're supposed to have these magical gifts for our loved ones, oftentimes with money we don't really have. And so we tend to rely on credit cards, and then, in January, there's the reckoning, right? But let's keep it away from adult issues, and let's talk more about kids, right? So first of all, let's be aware of what our kids are looking at. Television ads, the ads on the devices, maybe peer pressure, what kids are wearing, what they're getting from their parents, what they think they're getting, what they say they're getting from their parents, whether they get it or not, we don't know yet. And so we also then need to be aware that our children oftentimes have wants that need to be identified as wants versus needs, right? So all of these understandings that it is not too late to start putting into place. You may not solve the whole financial effectiveness problem with your kids during this holiday season, but this is certainly the time to start talking about it, because not only are there lots of push now to spend money, but there's going to be push after the holidays to spend money. The after the holiday savings and all of that. So let's chunk it out. So first of all, the kids are going to look to you as the model, right? You need to be a financially smart model for your children. And you're saying, well, how can I? I'm in debt. I don't have a lot of money. What do I do? Well, there are things that you can do as an adult to start maybe being more transparent to kids and to admit to kids that maybe you need to learn this as much as they do. Being a super parent to kids, as far as being talking the perfect talk oftentimes will not help you bond with kids as fast as admitting to kids that you don't know it all, that you're not perfect at it all, and that we need to work together to get the family budget under control and to work together to meet the family budget, right? So I think you will find that kids appreciate the human parent versus the perfect parent more. So first of all, monitor TV consumption. Let's make sure that as you watch TV with your kids, and hopefully you are watching TV with your kids, at least that you're monitoring what they're watching and that you see these sometimes horrendously inappropriate toys or horrendously expensive toys, and your child seems to be saying, I want that, mommy, I want that. Of course, they probably, oftentimes the young ones say it about everything. Then that's your opportunity to say, well, that's not something we can afford. Let's find something we can afford. I don't think Santa's going to bring that this year. So if Santa doesn't bring that this year, what can he bring instead, right? You see how I'm offering choices, and yet I'm planting the seed that probably Santa's not bringing that big old expensive game player and so forth. Teach bargain hunting. If your kids are purchasing kids for siblings or even parents, get them involved in checking out the ads. Have them clip out coupons, turn your kids into bargains at dollar stores, thrift stores, garage sales. Matter of fact, this makes me think that two things. One is we should be shopping for Christmas gifts all year if we can, right? Especially for adults. It may be a little bit harder to shop for kids when it's March, when we don't really know what they're going to like in November or December. But as far as adults, we can start having a Christmas closet where we share with kids that hey, wouldn't that be good for Aunt Susie? She collects pigs, and here is a pig tray. Let's go ahead and get that for her. She's going to love it. It's going to be a perfect addition to her collection. And so you put that away in your Christmas closet. Now, don't be like my grandmother, because she kept forgetting. My mother was bad about this. Buy things early and lose it in the closet. And it wasn't found oftentimes until after she passed away. But anyway. And then the second thing is that if we find it on sale, Grandma will never know that we spent $10 less on it because we found it on sale. Matter of fact, actually, Grandma might be proud of us if she finds out that we spent $10 less of our hard-earned money. And I say hard-earned not only as parents but as children. Our children should be earning their money. And you heard the Cordova family, by mowing yards, by doing chores, by taking out the trash. That is how kids can help earn their money to buy for siblings and so forth. Stop compulsive shopping. Set a household rule that your child must write down any pricey items. Remember we talked about buying something for $500 and kids think that's okay? No, that's not okay. What's the price limit that's okay? Anything over $30, $50? You know, in a kid's life, $30 is a lot of money. And so if we have kids who want to buy something, and let's say they've collected $100 and they want to buy this thing for $75, then we want to be able to say to them, you know what, instead of buying it right now, I know you have the money, sweetie. I know that you have the money, but let's just be wise, and let's say that we're going to give it some time. I want you to look for deals. I want you to see if it's on sale in the next few weeks, and see if really that's what you want to spend, what took you 6 months to earn, if you want to do that now. And so oftentimes what you'll find is, especially for the younger ones, out of sight, out of mind. Even though they had the money, because we had a deal that any big item, ticket item, had to be mulled over and thought about, they'll move on to the next item. Especially like the Cordova family, if you've got something in the closet that's left over for birthday or Christmas. So, to reiterate again, the impulsive shopping is something that we can train our kids to move away from. But even our little ones can draw what they want, and then we wait a week or two, And if they keep going back to it, that's an indication of interest. If they've moved on to draw something else, we can cross that one off the list, right? So here's another one, teach, need, want versus need. And, this is the gotta have it generation, the immediate feedback. And so we need to make sure that the kids that, when they create their list for the holidays, for example, that they're creating a list versus of things that they really want. And you can talk to them, gosh, that's the first time I've heard you mention that item. And here it is, December. Is that something you heard from another kid? Well, yeah, my best friend said he's going to get that. We're not doing best friend gifts today. We're writing what you really want because you wanted it for a long time. And so, again, those are those conversations that you're able to have with kids. Not that you want to tell them they're always wrong, but helping them reflect over that and learn to get over that impulsive feeling of immediately getting what they want. That's the hard part for families. Maybe do one store shopping. This would be interesting. What if you say, okay, guys, we know that Walmart, for the most part, we know that Target, we know that thrift store, we know that whatever level of store that one can afford, we say, hey, kids, let's say that it happens to be Walmart, but I'm not saying it's only Walmart. Let's say that that's the store that all of us are going to buy our gifts to each other from. And so that means we're going to look at ads. We're going to look at prices. We're going to compare prices to other stores so that when we finally go to that store to buy, we know that we are getting the best bargain for our money. And again, are you hearing a trend, a pattern in my talk? The best deal, the best way to spend our money, the most fiscally responsible way to spend our money. And then here's another, some families are actually doing this. Some families are considering after holiday gift buying. We all have been in the situation where we have bought something expensive for a loved one, whether a spouse, whether kids, and then after the holidays, what are we seeing? We're seeing that thing slashed 25%, 50%. Is that not a kick in the gut? So maybe some of you are tired of that happening to you, and you've made a decision as a family, right, that since we know that's the best deals are after the 25th, maybe starting the 26th, those parents set a new rule. If you receive you will receive a few items from Santa, but the pricier items may have to wait till after the holidays, and the kids learn to appreciate the value of a good deal. The parents are grateful to save a lot of money, and the whole family enjoys that day after shopping outing for everyone's one special, one better priced gift. How's that for family bonding opportunity? And then at the end of the time, what we do is we sit around and talk about how much money we saved, right? Wouldn't that be sort of neat? And this is, by the way, just if you want more information, this is Dr. Michelle Borba, parenting expert. This article is an excerpt from the Big Book of Parenting Solutions. For a complete guide to boosting your child's character, refer to the chapters on ungrateful, spoiled, and selfish, materialistic, bad manners, which offer research-based strategies and proven parent solutions, as well as dozens of new habits to teach your children to replace inappropriate ones. Is that not a good promo to get to that book? Let me say that again. For a complete guide to boosting your child's character, refer to the chapters on ungrateful, spoiled, selfish, materialistic, bad manners, and you'll find research-based strategies to proven parent solutions, as well as a dozen new habits to teach your children to replace the inappropriate ones. I may have to buy that myself. She's intrigued me on that. So I hope that we have given you some timely tips. Again, we're doing this because school's out next week, and when school is out, that's the time that you have to really start talking to your kids about the gift buying if you haven't already started. And so to transition into the next important thing for the holidays to remember is not only how we can stay financially effective, but also how can we stay instructionally effective? How can we not lose ground during the 2 weeks that we're away from school so that when we come back, we're not having to catch up on what we lost? You know, and you've heard me say this, and I'm going to keep saying it, even though I know that there's a core of you loyal listeners. There's always some new people who come on board for every show. And so I'm always working to what I call the gaps in the room, right? And so I want to be able to remind parents or tell new parents or new educators that being able to help parents and kids feel an instructional thread during time off, whether it's the holidays, whether it's summer, is not the wrong thing to do, but it's the thing to do very carefully. We have often had teachers send home packets during the holidays, during the summer, and you know, those packets get put aside until maybe a day or two before the child is to go back to school, and then it's a rush job, and then there's tears, and then there's excuses as to why all the packet wasn't completed. And so my wondering is there a better way to do that? And I think there is. And here's a couple of solutions. One is most all schools have math and reading software that your kids do during school. And the school's eternal hope is that every weekend, every child will do at least 30 minutes of ELA, English Language Arts, and 30 minutes of math. During the holidays, that's our hope as well, maybe a little bit more. The hope is that maybe every 3 or 4 days, the parent can work into the child's schedule 30 minutes of math, and then on another day, 30 minutes of English Language Arts software, so that the child gets, during the 2 weeks off, at least 3 or 4 sit-downs with each of those content softwares, and just keeps their mental math and ELA head in the game. That's one. That's number one. And this would be in combination with reading. Just because it's the holidays doesn't mean we need to abandon reading. Reading should be part of our bedtime routine, to where even during the holidays, most of the time you still went to bed with a book. Whether if you're little, that you went to bed with your parents reading, or an older sibling reading to you, or you're spending the last 30 minutes before bedtime, before lights out, reading a good book, a good chapter book that interests you, that has an interesting plot and setting and characters. Kids who read like that, this setting that I have just told you about, as far as setting that type of reading expectation at home, will lead to kids who do better in school, have higher level reading scores, and who become stronger adults. It just, all the research is there, okay? So if we'll do the math and ELA software, if we most of the time go to bed with a reading expectation, your kids over time will be way ahead, frankly, of other kids that are not doing that. So let me leave you that as homework. So as always, we have reached the end of our hour. It always goes quickly. I hope the information was as interesting to you as it always is to me. I love bringing on speakers because, frankly, I think that bringing what's happening in the field, whether the classroom or the home, I think is priceless. And so I thank you for being on today. I hope that you left feeling a little bit more educated about some of the good things happening in public education. Maybe some of the concerns that are also happening in public education. But mostly I hope you left with the understanding of how important public education is, whether virtual, whether asynchronous, whether face-to-face. It's important. And so all of us must be part of helping kids become more than hourly wage earners when they graduate. We need career-minded taxpayers who will help keep our economy strong in the future. And if we don't help these kids do that today, get stronger as far as their learning, then they won't be able to help us later when we need stronger economy. So join me in my Pub Ed advocacy and part of our Pub Ed Army to help us keep public ed funding strong, keep the expectations around public education smart from our legislators and from our education agencies, and keep asking the questions here so that we can make sure that you stay as informed around public education as you need to be to help us grow our Army. I hope everyone has a great next week before the holidays. It is the week before the holidays. It doesn't mean we stop learning. It doesn't mean we stop reading. It means that we get into that anticipatory stage of being able to close out school and start our holiday break while still understanding that there's a bit of instructional stuff that needs to go on during the holidays. And when you come back, you're going to feel so much better for having done so. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.